And I think also what I've learned about myself is that there's ways to feel good about myself and create things that have nothing to do with other people. I can do something by myself, and that alone time sometimes is scary, but it's also the times when I feel the strongest, because I've done something that no one else will see. It was just for me, journaling, taking photographs, something like that just fuels my soul, and it doesn't have to be shown to anyone. And I think that's been really instrumental into my healing right now.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Better Together. When you know better, you get better. Our quote of the day: what mental health needs is more sunlight, more candor, and more unashamed conversation. That is from Glenn Close. Great words. This is very true. We're going to be talking all about that today with our guests. We're featuring actress Brittany Snow and her creative partner Jaspre Guest to talk about their new mental health initiative. It's called September Letters. And is it plural? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it says letter here. So
yes, that is a typo.
That is a typo. I'm like, did I screw this up?
No. It's definitely September Letters. I have confirmation on that. Okay. So I will take the fall on that one.
That's what I remembered. So anyhow, I'm really excited to chat with them about this. I think it's such a great idea. In the meantime, thank you guys for being with us today and every day. If you haven't clicked subscribe on YouTube, please do. You'll get those little notifications so you never miss a great episode. If you haven't followed us on our Instagram account, Better Together with Maria, or on TikTok, please do. It's a great hub for us and you to get your zhuzh every day.
That's right.
And we're working every day to make it better, and we're open to suggestions because we're better together. So share with us what you guys want more of or less of, whatever it is. Patreon. If you haven't joined us at Patreon, we give you ad-free content, exclusive content, and these amazing workshops that we're doing with our incredible guests, world-renowned healers and gurus and experts at your fingertips, so you can actually have access to them. You can ask them questions. You can be a part of an intimate group that is working on themselves. So join us. If you click the link tree in my Instagram, either my personal Instagram at Maria Menounos or Better Together with Maria, it will easily take you there. So you just click, and then you're in, and then it's over. So all of that aside, I made a little broccoli thing. So I'm really trying to push myself into really focusing plant-based. And if I think about it, I grew up like that because my dad was diabetic and my parents are from a village and all they knew was to eat vegetables. They never ate meat growing up until they came to this country. And so, well, they were poor. So having meat was expensive and that was like a privilege.
Yeah.
And so I'm really focusing on trying to eat really, really less meat. I threw a package of bacon out the other day.
I was so proud.
I was like, bye, bacon.
She was like, Kelsey, look.
Yeah.
Look. And I said, yes.
Well, when you start to see how many carcinogens are in these products, you start to realize I need to lessen them. Like they were talking about, like the yolks of eggs are all just fat and whatever. And I was like, oh, I thought eggs were good for you. So anyway, I'm just trying as much as I can. So anyway, long story short, I brought some of those mini Brussels sprouts, and Yogi Cameron, who's been on the show, had done this recipe with me on E-News once, where it's Brussels sprouts, broccoli, rosemary, and mushroom, and you chop it all up and you cook it in the pan with a little olive oil, salt and pepper, and it's delicious, like super delicious. But it was like hurting going down. Yeah. And now my stomach has settled a little bit. Maybe I'll have some ginger tea after, but it felt like really rough going down. And I remember last time we ate it, I had pain. So then I'm like, oh gosh, what else am I going to eat? I can't eat eggplants. Those are nightshades, right?
Did nightshades affect you?
Well, they're supposedly bad.
Not necessarily. I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, I'm not a doctor, but if they affect you, they affect you. I mean, there are doctors who preach tomatoes, and then there's others that say nightshades are awful.
Well, we had...
So you just have to listen to your body.
Yeah, we had Dr. Gundry on, and he talked about all the lectins and the...
But then you have...
The what is that stuff called?
I know it too. I'm gonna look it up so I can say.
I don't know. You know, and tomatoes never really agreed with me anyway. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, well, what the heck am I going to eat? Lettuce, zucchinis, carrots, and celery for the rest of my life?
That's how I feel.
It's kind of frustrating.
It's like a rabbit diet.
It is a rabbit diet.
But then what happens when I go on the rabbit diet, because I have for my health, when I was really suffering from rashes, Yogi Cameron was like, your body's running hot, your work is hot, your stress levels are hot, you need to cool everything down. And so the way I got rid of my rashes was I had the little rules on a piece of paper on the wall. It was like, eat from the ground. Mm-hmm. And what that means is only things that come from the ground, like vegetables and fruits and things like that. And only eat when you're hungry, which is a very awkward thing. And you start to realize when you do this that you really eat for satisfaction, for fun, for smell, for taste, because it looks good. And so I kind of felt like I was, it was really, really challenging in the beginning. Only eat when you're hungry and eat what you need in that moment. So I would have like a couple blueberries and I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna be honest with myself, I'm fine. And then later be like, I'll have some sweet potato. And I'd have like a half a sweet potato and I was fine. But what happens is if you really listen to your stomach, you don't need a lot. Mm-hmm. And if you're only eating from the ground and eating when you're hungry and you're eating so clean, you have boundless energy. So I was like bouncing off the walls with all this energy, and I would have thought it was the opposite because I wasn't getting my protein and I wasn't getting all the stuff and carbohydrates and whatever. And so I felt better and I got better, and the rashes eventually went away between that and this the powder from the trees in India. I'm having a slight brain fart right now trying to remember what that tree powder is called.
Neem?
No. It'll come to me. Anyway, I used some of that on my body with some water and then all of it went away. But
yeah,
I have some. Is it sandalwood powder?
Thank you. That's what it's called.
There we go, Jeff.
It's partly to the inflammation, I think, too. I mean, my office used to always make fun of me because I'm like, I know I need to develop a healthier relationship with food, because I tend to like do like fad diets every 3 months. So like Whole30 is the one that's like a big fad diet in LA.
What's that?
Where all you do is just eat. It's basically paleo, but you can eat as much as you want. But the rules are, like you said, eat when you're hungry and eat what's on the list. And I think not only would I lose weight, but I would just be less inflamed. Like I think that's part of it too.
Well, so in that documentary I watched, With the health, they said paleo diets are really, really bad.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I feel like everything's bad. You know,
It's
I mean, I've
really
been going through this
overwhelming.
it is overwhelming. I've had so many stomach issues my whole life. I've seen every doctor under the sun who's been like, do this. The next one's like, do this. I've seen a naturopath who's like, do this. I've seen, whatever. And it's like, oh my God. So you really just have to listen to you. Like, I know meat hasn't agreed with me really ever, which is kind of why I cut it out. And then if I do it, I don't feel well, but some people need it. Like you've talked about your iron deficient, you need it. So it's all, I feel like it's really all about listening to your gut. And like you said, Jeff, with inflammation, if you're eating processed crap, you're going to be inflamed.
I know.
Everyone
but
is.
I woke up this morning and I was having like a little anxiety over all of it because I was like, oh gosh, if we don't do it all right, I don't want to get sick. Like if we don't do things right,
it's a lot.
We're going to get sick. And then I'm like, I don't want to get sick. Oh my God. And I was just like starting to have like anxiety over it. It's very, very overwhelming.
Super overwhelming.
Trying to stay healthy. It's so crazy because you hear all the time of the people who did everything right and then they still got sick, and it's so frustrating.
Right. Because you don't know what's right. We talked about this a couple days ago. It was like, that's why I'm like such an advocate for like, listen to your body. And we all know, eat from the ground. Yes, that applies to everyone. I think that that's a great rule of thumb. But if something agrees with you, great. If something doesn't, great. You gotta listen to you and take little pieces, I think, definitely. But it's very overwhelming because these people, these doctors with like degrees can say completely different things. It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild.
They're still people and they still have opinions.
Right.
And so, and I know that when I quit meat for a year, I got super anemic. And so I had to reintroduce meat in, and then I quit for another year and then got super anemic. And then I just threw my hands in the air. But the problem I'm realizing is that when you go plant-based, you need to eat so much more. And Fully Raw Christina, it was an early episode in this podcast. If you go back to it, she was, on the raw diet or whatever. But if you think about it, it's just plant-based, right?
Yeah.
And she had to eat like 50 heads of lettuce to get the amount of nutrition she needed. And it just seemed so arduous. And I was like, oh man, but she's going to be really healthy.
And maybe for her.
And by doing that, she's getting the iron she needs, right? Like when you look at it like that, it's like, okay, I just have to eat an abundance of fruits and vegetables. I can't think of things in the 3 meals a day, through that lens that we grew up with, like 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a snack. That's not how it works. Somebody created that based on the system they were selling us, which, includes all these things in there that have now been contaminated in such a deep way.
Yeah.
So I'm trying.
It's crazy.
But
it really
it's going to be really hard, guys. I did think of this morning too. How am I going to really say no to potato skins in life? That's
and
the
apple
challenge.
cider donuts.
Yeah. And so for me, if I don't fully quit, I can't quit.
Okay, because I was going to say,
I can't be moderation. I'm a little more extreme about things like that. So like I have not touched chicken in years since my first Tony Robbins seminar. That's when I quit meat.
Wow.
And so I don't eat chicken.
Yeah.
And I think that's why my thyroid shrunk. My nodule on my thyroid significantly shrunk last year. And I was like, well, that's random. Where did that come from? Why did that happen? Now I think about it, I'm like, oh, well, that's probably a big source of hormones that are just now not in my body.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. So it's kind of wild.
Crazy.
It is wild.
So now my dilemma is I'm trying to eat vegetables, but I'm like, I can't eat eggplants. I can't eat tomatoes. I'm not a big cucumber fan. So now, and peppers do not agree with me, right? Can't have jalapenos anymore, anything spicy. So I'm down to different forms of lettuce, celery, carrots, cabbage.
No Brussels sprouts, no kale?
No, I love kale. That's lettuce to me.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. But the Brussels sprouts were a little rough. I don't know. I feel okay right now, though.
Yeah.
But just when they were first going down, I was like, oh,
and
this
Brussels
is harsh.
and broccoli are both, and that's what I was telling you. It's like those are both two of the most difficult things for your body to digest. So doing them together, it's like they're in the same family of, I forget the name.
Cruciferous?
Yeah.
No, that's
I think that's right. I'll look it up.
Something like,
Maybe.
but they're in the same family and cauliflower too. So
yeah. I have to start I'm going to really focus on listening to my dad's instructions, which you guys know I'm not really big on instructions, to make his soups, because we just need to make
his chickpea soup.
Yeah, a couple pots of some soups and keep them in the fridge and the freezer, and we'll be good. We'll never be hungry here.
Your dad and my mom. My mom makes the best stew. Stew's my favorite food after sweet potatoes.
But what's in stew?
Anything you want.
Oh.
It's just thicker than a soup.
I think of stew and I think of just meat.
No. You can do veggie stew. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You just gotta make, it's so good.
Yeah, so you make your mom's soup, I'll make my dad's soup. We'll see whose is better.
I make a killer sweet potato chili, too.
Oh, yeah. She keeps talking about all these things she makes, and then I never see them. I'm like the angry wife over here who's like, my husband won't cook for me.
Jeff, here's my dilemma. And I told her this the other day. For me, I'll make it for me and I think it's fine. I'm totally fine with it. For others, I'm so scared, especially Maria, who's like a food intuitive, loves her. I'm like,
and I'm very blunt. I'll be like, this sucks.
So the last time I made the Brussels sprout thing, she ate it, and then
it was good actually.
But then the next day she was like, "Don't be afraid to use the oil."
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
"No, that was for the salad, I think."
Something.
No, because people are scared, and I know because I used to be like pouring olive oil on your salad. Like I used to be so careful, and then my dad, I watched him, and he'd pour on the vinegar and all the. And I was like, oh my gosh, but his salads always tasted so much better.
Might have been, they've been better now after you told me that.
Yep.
But I'll make
That's why
it.
I love cooking, though, is because I'm not very precious about it. I love to cook. I find it very relaxing, but I don't mind if people don't like it. Like, I'll be the first one to be like, nah, I screwed it up. Like, this isn't right.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a very relaxing, creative pursuit that I'm not too attached to, which is why it's one of my favorite things.
Oh, I'm attached.
Interesting.
It has to be amazing.
Yeah, see, and that's why I won't cook for her, Jeff.
I have really high food standards. And so, like that fish taco last night, oh, the fish was too fried.
Mine
and
wasn't good
the
either.
oil was fried, like old probably. But the things inside and the tortilla was good. And the fries were really good. I was really hungry, Jeff. All we had was like a kale salad earlier in the day, so I was starving.
Yeah.
Anyhow, let's shift gears from food
Yay.
to September letters, guys. Brittany Snow and Jaspre Guest are celebrated leaders in their industries. Brittany, of course, is one of TV and film's most recognizable faces for decades, and Jasper has a highly, maybe not decades, guys, like this intro, like what is she, 50 years old?
Well, child, guiding light. It's been a couple decades.
What have I missed?
I'm reading Jeff's intro for you, Brittany, and it's like, she's one of TV and film's most recognizable faces for decades. Now, yes, you've been on the planet for 3 decades, and you have been acting for those 3 decades.
She agreed with it.
But it felt like I was talking about like a 50 or a 60-year-old. So
Hilarious.
I'm crying laughing. Anyhow, and Jasper is a highly influential creative consultant and entrepreneur, and together they co-founded a mental health initiative called September Letters, dedicated to creating a platform for real people to tell stories about mental health. Today they're going to share some of the most powerful tools that they have used on their journeys and within their own struggles and victories with mental health. So, ladies, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. For everybody who is listening, I mean, I am obsessed with September Letters. I think this was such a great idea. Why don't you bring everyone up to speed on each of your journeys to September Letters, like the why of it all? Sure. And what it is. First what it is, and then the why. Go ahead, sorry.
Right. So, September Letters is a mental health awareness and letter writing experience. And what we found, not only through our personal experience, but also through research, that writing down your thoughts and your issues and your story and getting really clear about why you're writing the story to help someone else, to help yourself, it's a really therapeutic experience and something that we found is very healing, not only for us, but what it seems like for other people. And for me personally, this kind of came about because I've always been an advocate of mental health, and it's been a huge part of my life. When I was a teenager, I found an article in a magazine, and it was this woman who was going through this struggle, but she had recovered from a mental health issue. And at the time, I didn't even know what I was going through. I thought I was very strange. I did weird things with my mind and with food, but I wasn't sure what it was exactly because it was also like, during AOL, there wasn't really like internet searches that I was doing on this. But I read in this magazine article that this woman had overcome these mental health issues. And for the first time, I saw myself in someone else's words. And I carried around that article in my back pocket for months to make me realize that I wasn't crazy and there was someone else who was going through the same thing. Cut to many years later, I recovered from this thing and wrote my own article in People magazine and came out with an article. And I was at a coffee shop one day and a girl came up to me and she was carrying my article that I had written in her back pocket. And we both cried and freaked out. And it was this full circle moment where I realized I was just trying to do the same thing that this woman who I had never met had done for me. And by doing that, I created this circle pay it forward effect, which had some sort of effect on someone's hope and recovery. And that's where I wanted to do something with September Letters, the idea that there is hope, and because of your struggle, you can help someone else.
So cool. And how did you and Jasper connect on this?
Oh, so I was like, Jasper, do you want to take it? No, I'll just keep going. So I actually worked a lot with mental health for a long time, and it's I've been in in relationship with other mental health organizations. And it was kind of come to this part where Jasper and I become friends, and I kept telling her I wanted to do something with this idea. And I didn't really know what to do, except that I knew that sharing stories was really an important tool. So I came to her with this idea and I said, I don't know what I want to call it. I don't know what to do. And she kind of took it and ran with it, because that's her deal. She's a boss. And she was like, this is what we're going to do. And we played around with a bunch of names, and I was very clear on the message that I wanted to get out there, but I didn't know how. Mm-hmm. And Jasper, since she's, so great and also a friend of mine, really made it happen.
That's so cool.
To that point, I think it was also just really fun to see Brittany have she had a very clear vision. She knew what she wanted to do, and this idea of community was kind of the center nucleus of everything that we did. It was always about like relating back to community, which is really hard to build a community, A, and B, it's a scary thing to do online, but the website is very interactive. And that was one of her like number one visions from the beginning, was like, how do we make a community and how do we make it not triggering? Like the care that she put in, like we have so many calls every day, and every day it's always like, is this triggering? We don't want anything to be triggering. Is this inclusive? Like the care and passion behind that. And that's been she's been an advocate of mental health for so long, has been really inspiring to not only watch, but be part of.
So cool. So when you meet other people, do you feel like you have an instant kinship with someone who's gone through a similar journey?
Completely. And, I feel like that meeting of that girl who was carrying around the article that I had written, and she was carrying it around in her pocket. I had no idea what her individual story was or that unique circumstance, but there was an understanding that we definitely knew each other, and that we had some sort of kinship, and that I didn't need to know the specifics necessarily. I just knew that we had gone through similar things, and there's a connection there. And I think that connection is the inclusivity that I wanted for September Letters, in terms of making sure that we all know that we're united and better together, if you will, because that really tying it all in. But it really goes to show that we're so much more powerful when we do things in a unit. And so I think that meeting that girl was kind of the beginning of that idea for me, where I was like, we just knew each other and had no idea who each other were.
Yeah, I have the same feeling when I meet people who are on their journey with their brain tumors. I'm like, I got you. I know where you're at. I know how you're feeling. And so that's why I ask, because I feel like, what I've dealt with, it's like such a small community, but mental health is such a massive community, right? It's all of us. We're all dealing with it in varying levels, varying degrees, and in various ways. And during COVID, my God, I mean, this is definitely been probably even more challenging. So I wonder how, Jasper, did you deal with personal struggles that kind of got you involved in all of this? And then I'll go over to
I have had this desire from my earliest memory, which was, when I was 2, to help. And I really feel like, our duty as humans is somehow to give back in a way that we can't gain from. In a way, we're all inherently a little bit selfish. And I've always had this desire to just really, truly help people. And in no way is it going to directly help me, and I think that as a human, I think in your lifetime, you should try to help at least one person. And I think everyone on this call has helped multiple people, but there are a lot of people who feel like they don't. And I think I would encourage them to try to do that. And I had a very different upbringing. My September Letter is about my physical struggles. I had a lot of hearing problems as a kid. I'd lose my hearing, I'd get it back. And the struggles of just being so different with that, and understanding physical pain so early on, and not being a normal kid, like not being able to swim, not being able to take a shower normally, just like normal things that I wasn't able to participate in. And then as I became an adult, I got really involved in charitable organizations and helping and kind of giving back. And Brittany and I have bonded over like our shared passion for hypnotherapy and how that's helped us in our own personal journeys. And I'm a big believer in the metaphysical and all of those different things. So my journey for mental health was really, more of a physical one, and learning to be in a human body and having a spirit and having that whole combination and being an empath, but also just trying to help and give back. And then I think as you get involved in the world, everyone has some sort of mental health struggle, because it's difficult to be a human on the planet right now. And, what tools do you utilize to help you get through? And I definitely have a toolbox that I default to. So my story is a little bit different than Brittany's, but at the end of the day, it's like, it's all the same, because we're all struggling, like you said, in mental health, which is this, enormous community, which I think arguably could be every single person on the planet at this point.
Yeah. I wonder, do you both identify as empaths?
I do.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So you have to listen. And Jasper, you probably know Judith Orloff. Do you both know of her?
Yeah.
Surviving as an Empath or Thriving as an Empath is her book. So we did, I think, 2 different episodes with her. It was mind-blowing. I mean, talk about tools. She has so many incredible tools. And I also wonder, Jasper, I don't know how deep you want to go into it, so it's totally up to you. But, with your ear, I wonder, so that's got to be neurological. It's got to be like your trigeminal nerve or something in there that's impacted, right?
So I would get a sinus infection, and then it would go into my ear canal, and scientifically they were too small to drain. And so it would get backed up, and I would legitimately lose my hearing. So I would lose a sense. And this was like a cycle. From two to really now I've been battling this situation, and I would get ear tubes, and then my hearing would come back. I would burst my eardrums, which I don't recommend. I've done it multiple times on both ears. And it became to a point where it was like, you're pretty young to be having this many years of surgeries and whatever. We don't want you to lose your hearing. So, permanently. Yeah. But there were a couple of weeks in my life that I just couldn't hear, and, losing that kind of sensation. But the metaphysical explanation of that was like, well, are you trying to not listen to something? Are you trying to close off to something? The scientific Western example was like, we think it's stress, which I really resisted when I was younger. I was like, honestly, don't tell me it's stress, like that I'm causing this. Like, what is stressing me out? I don't even know. And it took me a really long time. I would say until like maybe 6 or 7 years ago, when I was actually in LA for work, and I lost my hearing, and I had to go through meetings, and I actually got to a point where I wouldn't tell people I lost my hearing, because it became this thing where, people were just like, I don't think people believed it, and I didn't want to become a burden. I didn't want to cancel my meeting. So I would just go and read lips and just kind of get through it, because it sounds like you're kind of underwater, Wow. Yeah. And I remember calling my ENT, and he's like, you better figure out a way to get back to New York, because you really can't get on a plane. You're going to burst your eardrums. And I've done that before, and it's not an enjoyable experience. So that was really when I was like, I got to do whatever I can do to function as a human. And I changed my diet. I got, even more energy healings. And that really, the change of the diet, the adding of the supplements, which I was already kind of psycho organic and all these different kind of things, but really radically changing it really helped me get better. Wow. And allowed me to have my hearing. And now when I get sick, it doesn't get into these cataclysmic, I go to the hospital, I'm on oxygen, I can't breathe, I can't hear kind of thing. And so I think it was a combination of spiritually cleansing whatever was happening, and also physically, you are what you eat. I'm a big believer in that. You are what you put in your body. You can't eat enough broccoli on the planet to substitute a pill, a vitamin, a supplement. So I take an enormous amount of supplements. I eat very strangely. And that finally helped me regain a sense that I need, but I think that experience really helped me understand physical pain, as I'm sure you can understand. Yeah. And being able to relate to people on a different level, especially when you go through that so young, and you don't really know anything else. It's a bizarre kind of experience to have.
Wow. That's definitely a journey. I have so much to tell you off the air about
I can't wait.
Like, I don't want to like dominate the whole interview because I feel like there's so many things in there, but you know, if we look at kind of mental health right now in COVID, you know, you guys, you didn't know you were going to launch this right now. Like, it got launched in the middle of this, right? Or in the beginning?
Yeah, it was not supposed, it was supposed to be, we've been working on this for a year now. And so it was supposed to be, I think well, we tried it a couple of times and we weren't ready and I kept pushing it. And then we finally said, well, we should launch it in September. But we had no idea that COVID was going to happen back in March, obviously. I mean, just get started.
Well, it was obviously timed perfectly. And so what are you seeing from people right now? And what surprised you? Because you had a minute before COVID and then you have COVID. What has shifted? What have you guys seen? Have you seen any shift?
I think the thing that surprises me the most is the amount of honesty and vulnerability that people show in their letters and how much it's a needed source and tool for them, because these letters are beautiful and they're so well written, and there's some that have poetry and random musings, but there's so much honesty to it, but there's always a sense of hope. And that has been surprising because this is a really tough time for a lot of people right now, and you would understand and sympathize with a lot of people not knowing what to do and not knowing where to turn. But at the end of every letter, there's a lot of almost sharing of advice and tools and hope there. And I think that is our human instinct to want to help others and also to look, you know, for the hope in the situation, even when it doesn't feel hopeful. And I think that that's been really beautiful to see.
Yeah. How has your journey through COVID been in that arena of mental health?
Reading the letters is a super important thing for me to do because it reminds me that I'm not alone, because just like everyone else during this time, I've had a really interesting struggle with this. So much of my identity, because I've been a child actor and I've grown up in this business, is so performance based. And if I need to do something, I need to go change something or work on something or create something. And a lot of times, especially in the first couple months, there wasn't that ability to go out and do anything. So I read a lot of books and I wrote a bunch of things and did that. But it was really that sinking into understanding that what you do doesn't make up who you are. And that's difficult for me, since I've been trained like a little child actor monkey to feel like I have to perform in order to get anywhere. And that's not necessarily true. I think that's what a lot of people are learning right now, is it's okay to rest. It's okay to feel these feelings and know that you're okay just as you are without having to be anything.
Yeah, but that's hard. How do you get there, right? Like, I have ebbs and flows and moments where I feel like, oh, hey, yes, like I'm doing it. And then I'm like, oh shit, no, I'm so down and I'm not. And so, you know, how do you get to that?
I have a toolbox as well, just like Jasper said, that really helps. Hypnotherapy really helps me as well. It's the rewiring of my brain sometimes, because I feel like a lot of the things I tell myself are just stories that have over time kind of become confabulations of how I really view the world, but it's not necessarily true because it's just how I viewed it. But it's from a different perspective, you can understand that it's perhaps different. And I feel like hypnotherapy gives you that way of understanding it from a different point of view, which breaks the story a little bit and says, well, it could also be this way, and that other way perhaps is more positive. I read a lot of spiritual books, but also other books. I kind of immerse myself in podcasts and listening to other people who I really look up to, whether it's an entertainer or someone, you know, who's a healer or even who like does things in nature, and listening to their struggles and how they've gone through things is very helpful, because it makes me feel like, okay, not all of us have it all figured out.
I want to know what each of you are reading, listening to. Like, where are your people? Who are your people that are guiding you through this journey? Because that's always helpful for people, because, you know, then they can kind of utilize those experts and acquire those tools.
I've been on a Marianne Williamson kick right now. Obviously, she's such a profound teacher and everyone knows about her, but for some reason, the topic of love and giving during this time when a lot of people are scared and wanting to like, no, it's mine. Like, I need all the toilet paper. Like, like, you know, everyone's freaked out. There's a saying that she has that, you know, I'm going to butcher this, but only what you're not giving is what you could be lacking. I messed that up.
Yeah. She said that on our show, actually. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So she says that all the time. And I was listening to it a couple days ago and thinking, it's so true. I mean, we have to give things away in order to get them back. And especially now, I feel like people are really basing a lot of things off of fear. And I just love her way of going about things and how you can match energy to the universe by opening up your heart and by loving other people and not being so fearful.
Okay, Marianne Williamson. Anybody else?
I don't know. I'm so Gemini. I listen to so many different things.
Wait, you're a Gemini too?
Yes.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Get it. I also Lee Harris, I'm obsessed with. He has this amazing energy report at the top of the month, every month, and he just kind of just like lays it out in a very, you know, easy way. I'm into astrology. I'm all over the place, obviously, but, you know, I also think it's important for people to find someone that doesn't give them everything, because a lot of people don't know what to do with that. You know, when it's almost too much, it can be overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So I think, you know, I'm trying to think of, like, I really love Lee Harris. I obviously read Astrology Zone every month. And I also just try to tune out a little bit, especially when the frequency is so high octane right now. I feel like sometimes too many downloads from too many sources is a little bit overwhelming to my brain. And I just try to skate around and see what I just pick up on my own.
Is that what's happening right now? Are we in like a high frequency? Because I'm feeling shit. Like literally feeling shit.
Jasper texted me the other day and said, if you are not ready for October, it will, what'd you say, Jasper? Like steamroll you, something like that. And I was like,
I mean, you know, obviously I speak to a lot of people all the time. Susan Miller's a client, also dear friend. And, you know, it's the toughest month of 2020, which I think is saying something.
Really?
Which I think a lot of empaths are feeling it, right? Like, if
I
am. Hysterical. She's like,
it's so interesting to run a business with you, because like she'll send me text messages. She's like, we shouldn't sign this contract. We shouldn't have this call. Don't hold off on this text message because we need to get through this. And I'm like, what do we do? Like, there's so many things all the time. It's amazing.
It's so the truth. I mean, you know, listen, if you're gonna believe in, my life is very guided by Metaphysical, because for me, it makes it legit. Otherwise, we're all suffering, and it's like, why are we suffering? What's going on? Like, there's an actual reason for why something's happening.
Yeah.
And if, you know, you look at the ancient ways, everyone had an astrologer. Kings and queens were like, yo, when do we go to war? This is when we do it. Great. It was like Hamilton, you know, it was like a really like, this is how we do it. And now we're all just like kind of freestyling through life. Yeah. And there's a reason why millennials are defaulting to astrology and crystals and all of these modalities rather than religion, because it's giving people a purpose for the craziness that's happening in this world. Otherwise, I don't know if I could really function on a day-to-day basis, because it's so wild. And when you are an empath, you're picking up, I'm always like, am I picking up anxiety, or do I have anxiety? Is it her anxiety? Whose anxiety is this? I'm not sure, you know?
It's funny to be in like a relationship with Jasper all the time, because I come from such like a spiritual, like therapeutic and like psychology. I like love psychology. And so I'm like, but don't you think this is your way of controlling the situation? Like, you know, whatever. And then she goes, no, the moon is blah, blah, blah. You know?
Oh my God.
Really, September Letters is a full thing of like everything that you would ever
launched on a good date is really important. You know, I got Susan Miller in my mind. Any meeting that Susan Miller takes, like, I have to check if the moon is void, what sign the moon is in, where we are in like different retrogrades. So like that, after 10 years of working with her, and seeing that it works, I now can't really do anything, you know, like in my own life. And sometimes I feel silly, but I'm like, this is really how I feel, you know, and I'm like, Brittany, don't sign that. We have to wait, you know. And now I just tell people, like, listen, Mars is retrograde, Mercury is retrograde. Like, it's not a good month. Like, I'll talk to you in November.
Oh,
and it's saving, God. You know what Susan Miller says? It's saving not only me, but it's also saving you. Like, why do we both want to go through this and it's going to be a nightmare when we can just skip that step?
But it's always in retrograde. That's the problem. Every time I turn around, people are like, Mars is in retrograde or whatever's in retrograde. I'm like, well, when is it going to be good, guys? Like, when, you know what I mean?
I know. I want to have an astrology reading where it's like there's no retrograde or Saturn on the moon or backwards, whatever. Like, it's just like a really good day. And there's no weird energy. That's the day I want to live on.
Seriously. Well, I will say just the last few days have felt really, really heavy, unsettling for me. And I'm like lost. And I keep calling my husband. I'm like, honey, I need help. I need guidance. I don't know what's happening. Like, I was so fine, so great. And then you're like, wait, what? Why am I feeling lost? Which is so weird and heavy.
You know, and I think don't give into it really, you know, and also it's going to be better, you know, and really what everyone's been saying.
Oh yeah, November's going to be amazing. I can see it now, guys. November's going to be awesome, especially November 3rd.
Yeah, nothing crazy is going to happen at all.
But if you've done the work, then you're not going to have to go through all these heavy things. You clearly have done the work. You know,
I've done a lot of work, but there's still so much to do.
People who go like this, I don't hear you, I don't see you, it's not happening, I'm not doing the work, and then, you know, ultimately the universe doesn't let anyone get out of anything. So
okay, when is retrograde over?
What?
When is retrograde over?
So Mars is retrograde. That's over mid-November. And then Mercury's about to go into retrograde, which honestly doesn't bother me. I like Mercury retrograde. Right. Things come back. It's a great time to revisit anything with R-E. So revisit, review, you know, it's a fine time.
Okay. All right.
So there's a reason why you feel like weird, you know?
Yeah, well, now it makes a lot more sense. I want to read one of the September letters, if you guys are cool with that. Just so people can kind of get an idea of what. So these letters are submitted on the website by people. They're either, I love the handwritten. I think that's such a great like touch. You can either handwrite, take a photo and submit it, or you can, you know, type it out. But here is one that we loved. Bad days happen. When you're having a rough day, remind yourself that you didn't come this far to only come this far. You will keep moving forward because you are not perfect. Without imperfection, neither you nor I would be here. What an empty place this world would be without the uniqueness of you. Stay positive even on the bad days. Talk to yourself as you would talk to someone you care about. Oh, such a good one. Take a breath. Your illness does not define you. Your mental health does not define you. Your struggles do not define you. Your courage is what defines you. If you have the courage to make it through a lonely night with nothing but the biting of your innermost thoughts, you have the courage to make it through anything. No matter how much the bad days hurt, someday you will look back and know you have been changed for the better, to be present, to help, to love. But in the bad days, remind yourself that you did the best you could today, and that is enough.
Somebody we do not know wrote that, and I mean, it's like, wow. So be able to be witness to that is really cool. It gives us chills all the time.
Yeah.
That people are willing to put that out there.
I think it's so great what you guys are doing, and I think you know, we need so much more of this, and it must be so nice to have this in your life, Brittany, where, you know, our industry can be very overwhelming and very like all-encompassing. So how does it feel for you to kind of have something like this to funnel energy into?
I hope you guys don't hear that my next door neighbors are now gardening. I think our business it's a tricky business because there's so much creativity and selflessness in terms of giving, you know, your art and whatever, and for lack of a better word, or it being lame, your craft. But it's also hugely self-seeking because you're selling yourself, you're working on yourself, you're you're thinking about how to better yourself in terms of how you're or seen or put out there. And I think something like this is hugely beneficial for my psyche and for my mental health, because it makes the world so much bigger and it makes what we do so small. I mean, there's so many occupations and lives out there that go through so much, and really this entertainment business is not the end all be all. We're not, we're not curing cancer. We're not doing, we're just helping people, and we're helping people by escapism and making them believe in a different world. But we have to give back, or else it's just all about us. And so I think it's hugely important for me.
I wonder, one of the questions we were talking about before the show that we were all curious about is, what is it like being an actress in COVID? Mm-hmm. Like,
it's strange for me. I don't know about anyone else, because the way that I get I always say this to my husband is a surfer, and to get his high, to get him on the level of being checked out and just one with the world, he goes surfing. And you can do that in COVID because you're not around anybody, you're just in the water. My medium of feeling connected to something, it requires a lot of people to have it set up. It's a cohesive machine. And so I can't really do it in that way. And I mean, I could put on a monologue for my dog and just act in my house, but that's gonna be crazy and I'll seem insane.
Although the video you had was really cute when you were reading things out loud. I think you could totally do it, but go ahead.
Yeah, so you have to find these creative outlets, I think, and realize that it's all coming, it's all happening, and it's just a reset. It's a reset for all of us to find out what's really important, and maybe on a macro view, we needed this time in order to reevaluate.
Yeah, that's actually something we talk about all the time. So when you look at this period, because it's been almost the entire year, what do you feel like you've learned about yourself and even, you're newly married, your relationship with your husband? What have you guys learned in this time?
Oh gosh, so much. More than anything, I feel that having a partner, and it doesn't necessarily have to be your husband, but I feel like a best friend or someone like that who really understands you in a way that you don't have to do anything or be anything. You can just be yourself, and it's unconditional, I think is hugely important right now, because there's some days when I don't do anything. I just want to cry all day, and having somebody saying, that's okay is huge, and I don't take that for granted. And I think also what I've learned about myself is that there's ways to feel good about myself and create things that have nothing to do with other people. I can do something by myself, and that alone time sometimes is scary, but it's also the times when I feel the strongest, because I've done something that no one else will see. It was just for me, journaling, taking photographs, something like that just fuels my soul, and it doesn't have to be shown to anyone. And I think that's been really instrumental into my healing right now.
I love that. Speaking of doing creative things, can we roll the video of her dog telling us about September letters?
You bet we can.
Your dog Billy has his, by the way, Billy has his own Instagram. We're going to put that in the summary of the show because he's worth a follow. I followed him. So watch this, you guys.
That's so great. So it's a girl, but her name is Billy because I think she's kind of androgynous anyway. And I love that about her. We don't know.
Oh my God.
I die.
But yeah, you wouldn't be able to tell it's a girl. She except her voice.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Watch this, everybody.
Not, I do the voice.
Okay. We're ready.
Here we go.
Oh God.
Wait, why am I popping up there? Oh, subscribe, rate, and comment, everybody. Perfect.
Hilarious.
That was so random.
That's right. And I was very scared, but I found that it only made me stronger. I hope other puppies may hear my story and find that they too can get through a hard time. I know. I'm gonna write a September letter. First, I go to the website, septemberletters.com. I look at the beautiful website. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. Wow. If I'm feeling down, I go to the resources page to get help. I go to the letters page, and I read other letters to get inspired. I go to the write a letter page. I read the terms and conditions. I click that I've read the terms and conditions. I'm not a liar. I don't mind being known, so I don't click the anonymous box. I write my letter. Wow, I feel so much better. Or I take a pen to paper and handwrite my letter, and then I take a picture of it. There, I'm all done, and I feel so much better. I try to focus on the positive, and I try to focus on hope, knowing that if I share my story and I remain hopeful, then I can help other puppies as well. Bye.
Oh
Bye, Billy.
Billy is everything. And Billy's starting again.
I love Billy. Billy's so cute. So you rescue Billy. Billy was found in a box because you might have clipped that part out.
She was found on the side of the road in a box 10 years ago. Her middle name is actually September, so it's very fitting that because September is my favorite month. And so, yeah, she's a little hope dog as well.
So freaking cute. I have to ask, what has been your favorite on-set experience of everything you've done? Ooh, smoke alarm. Needs a battery.
Oh, no. That is the worst timing ever. Interesting. What am I going to do? I'm going to have to problem solve here. What am I going to do? I'm going to have to move to another room, I guess.
Oh, no, you're fine. Don't worry. It goes off
we'll
every so often. We'll all survive.
Yeah. Also, it's like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to reach it. I'm going to have to get one of those ladders that you have to rent or something. My favorite experience probably, well, there's different ones for different reasons, I guess. But the Pitch Perfect 1 movie is where I made a lot of my best friends, some of which were even in my wedding. And so that time was a beautiful time for me because I created such strong friendships. But I don't know. It was really fun to play. I know this is going to sound, actually, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to talk about that.
Do it.
No, it's probably not a good time to bring that up.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say something. I played a Nazi on Nip Tuck, and I was going to say that was fun, but probably not the time to bring that up. Because, yeah. But also, I was in a tiny independent movie called Vicious Kind, and that was pretty fun as well because I got to play a character very similar to me, so that was nice.
Brittany, you were my favorite in Hairspray, just so you know.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was fun. That was 6 months of getting to hang out with all those legends was not bad.
So good.
That was not bad at all.
And I also have to finish up by asking, I'm celebrating my wedding anniversary that was this week. And you guys had this wedding in COVID, right?
Well, we didn't know it was going to be COVID. It was March 14th was our wedding day. The shutdown happened on March 15th.
Oh,
and
it was the 15th.
That week, my birthday was on March 9th. And I remember my birthday, everything was kind of fine. People were out. I remember having like a little party and there wasn't even any rules in place yet. So we got a call on March 11th that we should cancel the wedding. And we tried to, and it wasn't, if we would have canceled it, we would have lost so much money. So we just downsized so much. We had a very, very small wedding. And we kind of did it not knowing or not thinking that anything was going to be what it was. And then the shutdown happened the very next day. So we made it. We lucked out.
You snuck one by the goalie. You got it in. I
guess so. And then, of course, the guilt that happened the months after of just...
Why?
Because I didn't know it was going to be that bad.
Nobody did. So you can't look back and be guilty.
Well, people were like, why would you have a wedding then? I was like, I did not think this was going to be this, I just, but luckily no one from the wedding, the 60 people that were there, no one got sick.
Oh, well, you looked beautiful. The dresses were gorgeous.
Thank you.
Looked amazing. I'm glad that you got to have it before, and do not feel guilty. No one in the whole world knew that this was going to be what it is. It took a long time for all of that to sink in, I think, for everybody.
Definitely. Yeah, it made me feel very, very grateful That's for sure.
And Jasper, what is something that people don't know about Brittany that you have the privilege of knowing since you are working so closely with her?
I mean, I think one of the things that I always say is that she is such an advocate of mental health. I don't think people really realize like how involved she is in the trenches and really her like, I mean, literally every day we speak a lot every day through text or call or whatever. And she's always just thinking about the community and how to make it better, like always, how can we improve it? And she's just like a little like mermaid fairy warrior, like just like trying to make it like right, which a lot of people are not putting it's a lot of work, and it's a huge fight. So I always advocate that on her behalf, even when she's like literally right there on a video call and she's like, I'm here. I'm like, I know, but I have to like play this role of like protective big friend. And I think that's really the thing, is like her passion and fire to break the stigma of mental health. And she's been in this space for so long and really has been one of the people getting the conversation to where we are today. I mean, how amazing that we're able to have this open dialogue in a way that is not like whispered or in a back hallway. It's like very public, and I'm always so in awe of her strength for just doing that so many years ago and continuing that fight, because it's not that easy on a day-to-day basis.
No, not at all. And it's interesting. I'm so glad you just said that, because one of the things that I've really been frustrated with is that if you're on medication for mental health issues, you can be uninsured on a project. Like I had a doctor who was doing one of those physicals for a project I was working on, and he said that he had a client who was on anxiety medication and he couldn't get insured to be in a project. I'm like, wait, what? Isn't half the world on anxiety medication? Like, what are we talking about? How is that? But you get stigmatized just for trying to be healthy. And so I'll never forget hearing that and how much that impacted me, because what I started to realize was how many people had to hide and probably get medication on the streets and not go through the proper channels to be taken care of properly, because they don't want to look like a liability or whatever it is that is forcing insurance companies to have a problem with this. So is that something you guys are working on by any chance?
I think right now what we're trying to do is create a community and create a sense of being and create an open dialogue when surprisingly there's not really one. There are these little subgroups talking, but there's not one central group talking to really raise the profile, which is why I think it's so amazing that Brittany is giving like her everything into this project. It's not like a vanity project. It's not a COVID project. Like we've been working on this for so long, because just like what you just said is so important. And I think as things pop up, with our, one thing we didn't mention is that we are an official program of Bring Change to Mind, which is founded by Glenn Close, and we're so excited, but we do have the capabilities of really trying to change the narrative in certain aspects and make this a more normal conversation, which it is, and so I think that we're excited to see what we can do as we progress in the September Letters world.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
I had a quick question related to that too. I mean, Brittany, it's so cool and so valuable that you have been such an ally for people struggling with mental health, especially in this business. I think it's really important. And I was thinking back to Hairspray. That's another favorite of mine. And particularly, I think like Amanda Bynes' performance in that movie is unbelievable. She's so talented. And I remember she had some struggles this decade with mental health. And, she very bravely opened up about that too, which I think helped a ton of people. But I'm wondering if you ever reached out to her during that time.
Funny, during Hairspray, actually, we were very close, and we actually talked about mental health things on that movie. She was much more of a big sister, even though I think she's the same age or even younger than me. But she would give me advice about things that I was struggling with when I was 21. And we both had this mutual understanding. But I feel like that's a circumstance, and I'm not going to, speak on her behalf or allude to the fact that I know anything about her personal life right now. But I think what we're trying to do with September Letters is kind of coincides with this idea that you have to be able to feel secure enough to share the things that you're struggling with, whether you're an actress in the public eye or you're, whatever you do for a living. I think there's so much secrecy behind not wanting to seem vain or gaining attention, or maybe it's misunderstood. And that, when that's kept in and pushed down for so long, I think it manifests in other ways, and you look for outlets in order to heal that wound or cover up that feeling. And I think we see a lot of that with people who are struggling with mental health. They go down different ways because they're trying to cope in whatever way they can. And so by breaking that stigma, and hopefully what we're doing with September Letters is making it available to talk about your feelings, so you don't need to use other ways and go down a different road.
I think that's great. We're going to send somebody to fix your fire alarm. I rip them out. It's so bad. I get so frustrated. I'm like,
if I could reach it, that's what I would be doing right now. This podcast and YouTube would be a totally different view of me. I don't think I can get it.
I love it. Well, we'll wait for Tyler to get back from surfing or wherever he is, and he'll just jump up there and fix it for you. Ladies, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining, for sharing. And Jasper, you've brought on so many great guests for us as well. I feel like we're on the same kind of journeys. And so I think this was really cool. So thank you for what you guys are doing for our world, because we need it. And congratulations. And maybe I'll have to write a letter soon.
Oh, we're writing a letter.
Love your letter. Please write a letter.
Yeah. I will work on that.
Please.
I will work on that. You guys, anytime you want to come back, anything you guys are working on that can help people get better, we're right here for you.
Thanks so much. And happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, you guys have a great day. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye. Kiss Billy. Squish Billy. Give Billy a big hug. I want to squish Billy myself. Billy was so sweet and cute.
No.
The little face popping up in those videos, I couldn't even handle it. Anyhow,
that was awesome.
it was great.
They're so great.
I,
Interesting question, Jeff. That was
I know Jeff went in.
I literally texted Jeff. I was like,
whoa,
dang.
Jeff went in for a deep question.
Such a good one though. It's a great. I didn't even think about Amanda Bynes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden, when you mentioned Hairspray, Kels, they were close, you know, the two of them. And because I think both of them are so good in that movie. Everyone in that movie is amazing. And Amanda Bynes, you know, she is doing pretty well right now. But when you look at her as a child actress, really, really talented.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I think, so just seeing her in Hairspray, I was just curious about that.
Yeah, that was a great question.
Yeah. I have not heard about Amanda in a while. I feel like I heard she got engaged at some point.
She did.
Was that like last year or something?
No, I think it was more recent than that. I don't know.
It was last year. It's just that this year feels like it disappeared. So that's
right.
This year feels like we've been in permanent retrograde. When she was talking about this, I was crying laughing because I'm like, it's true though. Like I just these last few days have felt really heavy. And I'm like, why?
Yes.
Why am I feeling all this stuff? Like, why am I having these moments where, like I said, I'm realizing the toxicity I dealt with, like the levels of it. Like, I knew it was bad. Trust me, I knew it was bad. I felt it. But I'm really...
Yeah.
Well, probably because I'm here and I'm having the time, too.
So I say you never allowed yourself.
Yeah. It's crazy.
No, when Jasper... That's why I had to jump in. I was like, when Jasper texted me that the other day, I was like, oh, my God. Yes. Yes. So
bananas. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much, as always, for joining. I hope the conversation was helpful for you. You can read or write your own September letter at septemberletters.com. Brittany can be found on Instagram at Brittany Snow, Jasper at Jasper. We'll put all of these in the summary of this episode. So if you're walking, jogging, hiking, surfing, whatever you're doing and listening to this show or watching this show, you don't have to worry. We got you. We will give you everything you need.
Surfing would be impressive.
Yeah. If you liked this episode, check out episode number 124 with Nikki Glazer, who talks about the new world of pop culture during a pandemic. Really great episode, actually. And if you want, you can follow us at Better Together with Maria, at Kelsmeyer2, at Jeffrey Crane Graham. And remember, be nice, people, make good choices, and be present.